So good morning, class. Okay, so how is your day so far? Okay, it's nice to hear. But before we begin to our discussion this morning, so let us encourage the presence of our Almighty God to enlighten our mind to completely understand our lesson for today. Okay, so please, Victor, can you please lead a prayer? In the name of the Father, of the Son, of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Okay. So before you settle down, kindly arrange your chairs and pick up pieces of papers on the floor and put it inside your bag. Okay, and monitor, please check the attendance and give it to me right away so I can record who is our absent for today. Okay, very good. So I am glad that everyone is present in our class today. So who can recall our last topic, last meeting? Yes, Jenny? Okay, very good. So our topic last meeting is all about the elements of the story. Okay, so now let us have our first activity. Okay, so our first activity is entitled Complete Me. Okay, so who can read our directions? Yes, Michelin? Okay, thank you. So identify the following elements of the story by completing the puzzle on the board. Okay, so I have here provided the letters and you are going to paste your answer on the provided crossword puzzle. Okay, so number one, who can answer? Yes, Jody. Okay, very good. It is settings or the place where our story takes place. Okay, number two. Yes, Joycel. Theme, very good. So it is the central idea of our story or the message within our story. Okay, very good. Number three. Yes, Rika. Okay, very good. Protagonist or the main character in our story. Okay, very good. Next, number four. Who can answer? Yes, Marielle. Okay, very good. Character or the person, animal, or things that personified in our story. Okay, very good. Next, number five. Who can answer? Yes, Axel. Very good. Antagonist. Okay. So it is also considered as the antagonist or the opponent of our main character. Okay, very good. Number eight, who can answer? Yes. Okay. It is our climax. Very good. So it is the part of our story wherein the problem arises. Very good. Number nine. Yes. Uh-huh. How about other hand or some volunteer? Yes, just Norda. Okay. It is our point of view. Very good. Number 10. Yes, Riza. Okay, very good. Our plot or the sequence of event happen in our story. Okay, next, the last number. Yes, Alexander. Okay, our denouement or the ending of our story. Okay, very good. Okay, since you already answered our activity correctly, so who among you here have any idea on what our lesson or topic for today? Yes, Miss Joyce. Okay, very good. So one of our topic for today is all about literary elements and literary criticism present in the story of The Cask of Amontillado by Edgar Allan Poe. So in every lesson, we have our objectives. So who can read our objectives? Yes, Mitch? Okay, thank you. Before we proceed to our discussion proper, who can share his or her idea about the given question? Okay, Yes, Jedi? Okay, very good. So your decision or your actions today will reflect to your future. Okay, and then I will share a quote. According to Billy Graham, it is your decision, not your circumstances, that determine your destiny. So it means that we as a person is the responsible in our future or in our destiny someday. Okay. So now let us begin to our discussion proper. Okay. So first, let us have the summary of our story entitled The Cast of Amontillado. Okay. So The Cast of Amontillado is a short story that is written by American Gothic Edgar Allan Poe. Okay. So who among you here have idea about Edgar Allan Poe? Okay, very good. So I am glad that most of you here are familiar with Edgar Allan Poe. So let us explore the plot, the themes, and the other literary elements as we go further in our discussion. So Edgar Allan Poe's short story, The Cast of Amontillado, is the story of Manny Montresor, who decides to seek revenge among Fortunato, who has insulted him. So he meets Fortunato at the carnival and lures him into catacombs of his home and buries him alive. So Poe write his short story in a very creative way. So later on, as we go deeper in our discussion, we will dig deeper into the irony and different literary elements that uses inside this story. We will first tackle the plot. Okay, so the plot, it is as the interrelated sequence of event in our story. Okay, so the plot has six elements. So first we have exposition, or it is considered as the beginning of our story. So an example of exposition from the cast of Amontillado is when Montresor described his disgusted feeling against Fortunato and he want revenge. Okay, so these then introduce the characters and their issues relating to the story. So in the cast of Amontillado, the inciting incident is when Montresor explained that Fortunato injured Montresor and then insulted him. Okay, rising action. So in the cast of Amontillado includes Montresor telling Fortunato that he received a pipe of what passes for him, but he still has his doubts. The deep and the dark vaults below and the vacant house making the wine area mysterious and the drunk feeling that Fortunato begins to feel as he drinks the wine. Okay, so the rising action here, so when Montresor asked Fortunato to go with him because or Montresor tell Fortunato that he has a new pipe, and but Fortunato didn't know that Montresor is plotting his revenge. Okay. Next, or the third elements of the plot is the climax. So this is the part of the story where the characters finally face and solve the major conflict, or it is considered as the highest point of interest. So the climax in the cast of Amontillado is Montresor strikes Fortunato with a rock. Okay, so while walking down the catacombs or inside the vault, when they reach the dark part, Montresor picked a rock and then hit Fortunato, and then he pushed Fortunato in the wall. Then after that, he put chain on Fortunato that make Fortunato cannot move. And then after that, he put some wall. So these events happen. The author creates a tons of other questions for the reader. So grabe kanami maghatag si Edgar Allan Poe sang kumbaga ng those spies sa iya story, because as a reader we think that what might be happen after Montresor hit Fortunato a rock. So why did he push Fortunato in the wall? Okay, next we have our falling action. So the falling action is where the questions are beginning to be answered. So when Montresor puts the final building stone in the place to finish Fortunato off for good. Okay, so after Montresor pushed Fortunato on the wall and then he put the chain.
he started to build a wall, or he started to make a wall to para wala matabunan si Fortunato. And then after that, while Montresor building a wall, then Fortunato asked him a question. So why did Montresor did that to him? That because they are considered, he considered Montresor as a friend, not knowing that Fortunato did not know that Montresor is plotting a revenge. Since then nga nagkita ay sila nga duha. Kumbaga si Fortunato wala gid idea nga amo to gali ang plano ni Montresor sa iya. Kumbaga nagsalig sang tudo sa iya si Fortunato, not knowing nga amo to gali ang plano sa iya. Okay. So next we have our resolution or the denouement. So when Edgar Allan Poe tells us that what happens would be considered the denouement. So the denouement is when Fortunato disappears behind the wall and doesn't reply, which shows that he ends up dying. Okay, so after Montresor build the wall, kumbaga ginpriso ya didto si Fortunato sa sulod sang wall nga buhi. And then Fortunato tried to shout or tried to call Montresor, but Montresor left him dying inside those wall. Okay, so that is considered to be the resolution in our story. Okay, so next we have the character. So aside from being a story about a barrel of wine, Poe's short story is one of the revenge and secret murder. Okay, so it is considered a secret murder because no one can find Fortunato inside those vault, because those vault is located inside the house of Montresor, and it is considered as his secret place. So that is why he planned those revenge smarterly, or kumbaga he planned those revenge givya in a very unique way, because after plotting those revenge, he tries to get the attention of Fortunato, because because he believed, Montresor believed that Fortunato will trust him, because Fortunato consider him as a friend, not knowing that Montresor has a secret, kumbaga may kalain sang buot si Montresor nga ginatago sa iya. And then it is a tale of a terror starring two main characters, Montresor and Fortunato. So Montresor is the narrator and the murderer. Fortunato is a wine connoisseur and the victim. So when we say the wine, it is considered as the symbolism naman niya that later on we will dig deeper in our discussion. Next, we have the two types of the character. Okay, so who can read the two types, the first types of the character? Yes, Joycel. Okay, thank you. So the first type of character, we have protagonist. So the protagonist is considered to be as the main characters or the hero in our story. But remember, not all protagonists is protagonist. Sometimes they are considered as villains. For example, in our story, Montresor is considered to be as protagonist, but we can consider him as a villain because he killed Fortunato. Okay. Next. So the next type of the character is the antagonist. So who can read? Yes, Mitch. Okay. So antagonist, it is also a main character who opposes the protagonist in the same way. So protagonist is the opponent, or antagonist, is the opponent of our protagonist. So the characters that go against the protagonist, so Fortunato is the antagonist in the cast of Amontillado. So somehow, in our story, so the protagonist is Montresor, and then the antagonist is Fortunato. But always remember that Montresor can be considered as villains because he killed Fortunato. Okay. So next, we have is symbolic or symbolism. So the final type of character is symbolic. So a symbolic character symbolizes something important in the story. So in the cast of Amontillado, the symbolic character could be Fortunato. Okay, so Fortunato is a symbolic character because he represents freedom in a way and not having to care, which explains how he gets himself into trouble. Okay, so di man akis so familiar ka mo sa quote nga too much freedom could cause trouble. So the big example of that quote is Fortunato because Fortunato let her feelings to trust over trust Montresor, and he feel very comfortable to Montresor, not knowing that those freedom of him could lead to trouble because not because he didn't know that Montresor tried to kill him. Okay, settings. Okay. So the settings in the cast of Amontillado was noticed when Montresor states that it was about dust during carnival season, and then later on in the story they mention all of the dampness and darkness in his underground vault. Okay, so our setting in the cast of Amontillado is two. First, we have the carnival, wherein Montresor and Fortunato first meet. And then the second one is the vault or the catacombs that located inside the house of Montresor, wherein the crime happened. Okay. Next, we the our point of view. So the cast of Amontillado is told in the first person because Montresor is telling the story. Okay. Next. Have the flashback and imagery used in the story. So the story is a flashback, or in other words, the story is told after it happened and as the narrator remembers it because Montresor is the narrator in our story. And it is written in a first point of view. Imagery is used quite effectively when the outfit that the narrator describes Fortunato as wearing is a tight-fitting party street dress and a conical cup and bells meant to indicate fun and happiness. So these party clothes are in direct opposition to the dark tone of the story and the murder that befalls Fortunato. Okay, for the information of everybody, Fortunato is wearing wearing a dress like or dressed like a clown in our story, not knowing that the party dress that being wear by Fortunato is opposed or the opposition to the dark tone of the story, wherein not knowing that Fortunato will be died in the end of the story, and the murderer is Fortunato, or sorry, Montresor rather. Verbal irony. So one of the literary devices used most effectively in the cast of Amontillado is verbal irony, or when a speaker say one thing but means something very different. Yes. For the information of everybody, from the very start of our story, we as a reader do not have any idea that Montresor could be the murderer of Fortunato. It's because Montresor, the way how Montresor speak and the approach Fortunato to be with him, and the way Montresor treat Fortunato, we could not make an idea that Montresor could be his murderer. So this is the reason why Fortunato believes Montresor or trust Montresor, because Fortunato know that Montresor is acting to be good on him, not knowing that Montresor is planning a revenge. So Montresor runs into Fortunato at the carnival. So Montresor say, "I was so pleased to see him that I thought I'd never showed that I thought I should never have done wringing his hand." So the way how we read it or the way how we analyze this story, but Montresor speaks something different and it has a deeper meaning. Okay. This early in the story, before the reader knows what's going to happen, it would be easy to assume that Montresor was simply happy to see his friends and socialize. As we found out, Montresor is only glad to see Fortunato so that we can ultimately enact revenge on him. Okay. So the way, diba, as a reader, as we read how Montresor says or how Montresor treat Fortunato, we as a reader imagine that Montresor is very excited to see his friend Fortunato, but not knowing that Montresor is planning to murder Fortunato. Okay. So next, already finished discussing the different literary elements and literary devices that present in our story. So now let us move on to literary criticism in the story. Okay. So first, who can first literary criticism present in our story? Yes, Axel? Okay, thank you. So Marxist criticism or Marxist of literary criticism is can be used to critique the post-short story The Cast of Amontillado. So the Fortunato character appears to have a rising distinguished in social status, a nobleness forming an equality and or possibly surpassing the Montresor character. So this changing social status act as a symbol of the status that the Montresor family name and the crest used to have, but its a decline. So the success of Fortunato creates the thousand injuries that aggravate the Montresors to plot and commit for revenge of the Fortunato success. Okay, it can be considered as Marxist criticism since Montresor is taking the way or the possibility that he could make or he could gain the trust of Fortunato since Montresor is considered to be as the highest or the family name or the clan of Montresor is considered to be as the high class. So during that Montresor offers Fortunato to be with him, Fortunato would be glad to join Montresor at as the reason that Fortunato would have a chance to visit the famous vault of the Montresor or the catacombs or the vault that Montresor planned to or the place where Montresor planned to kill Fortunato. Okay, so the next literary criticism that present in the cast of Amontillado is the biographical or the genetic criticism. So, who can read the next literary criticism? Yes, Joycel? Okay, so in an effort to be a better understand the story, one can look at it from a genetic or biographical point of view. Much of Edgar Allan Poe's own personal life greatly influenced the story as well as many of his other works. So it deals with the subject of secrets, madness, darkness, and death. So this Gothic style of writing is greatly influenced by the disappointment and depression that followed Poe's his entire life. Okay, so we all know that all works of Edgar Allan Poe, one of his the best or the most generous of all his work is about death. It is because he Edgar Allan Poe reflect her depression, madness, and darkness on his literary piece. So that is why it is considered as biographical or genetic criticism. Okay. So, any questions about the literary criticism present in our story, or do you have any idea or any suggestion, or you can say something about literary criticism you know that we can relate in our story? Anyone? Okay, so now, who among you here have any idea or can share his or her learnings upon our discussion? Yes, Jedi. Hmm. Okay, so very good. So now let us have our activity or our assessment. Okay, so who can read the directions? Yes, Patrick. Okay. So based on the story, The Cast of Amontillado, So fill in the plot diagram below, write your answer in a sentence form, and do this in a piece of paper. Okay, you will have 5 minutes to finish this or to finish our activity. So I have here the rubrics on how you will going to write your answer. Okay.